Okay. Let me just check a couple things real quick. Turn some knobs. Okay, looks like we are live. Yes, we are. Okay, wait a second. One launch is loading. So, yeah, 1 second. Yeah. Um, Welcome everyone who is here, or is going to be here, or is replaying it, or is live and I just can't see them. Today, I thought it'd be fun if, like, every month I could talk about all the movies I've seen that month. I was going to do this for January. I was thinking of doing, like, full videos for it, but I thought, no, too much work, too much editing, so I thought I'd just do it in a live stream because I'm already live streaming. And, yeah, let's just hope my computer is not mean to me today. Because if it is, like, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm fake punching my computer because that's what will happen. Foreshadowing. Um, yeah. Let's turn on that, and I will be reading comments as always. So if you have anything to say, go ahead. Yeah. Alright. I'm gonna turn on incognito mode so I can see my own stream. And then I can read your comments. Yeah. Here we are. Okay, let me just turn on slideshow, ignore all that you are seeing. I still need to do this. Of course, my Wi-Fi is being slow as always, but that will change once. Well, I hope it'll change. Um, full screen it. Full screen it. Give it a sec. Of course, as I've been saying. Yeah. Alright. Um, Also, I know I said that I would be, like, live streaming on, from now on, I'd be live streaming on, what was it, Saturdays? But I thought this week I'd do it on a Friday because it's March 1st. I want to talk about all the movies I've seen this month. It just makes sense. Okay, here we are. All the February movies I made. I made this with Canva. If you like it, if you're interested, put a lot of work into it. Pretty cool thumbnail, I think. Yeah, let's get started with Echo. So, not really a movie, but is a TV show. Yeah, I saw Echo, the new MCU TV show. Um, Technically February. I mean, it released on January, but I finished watching it on February. Um, and the reason I'm forgetting that is because this is a very forgettable show. I think I forgot a lot about it already. So, you see, it's basically about this character who was in the Hawkeye show. If you're not, like, very into the MCU, I don't think you'll, like, get a lot of this. So, I'll be brief with the description, but it's basically the side character from the Hawkeye show, and Kingpin's in it. It's basically her relationship with Kingpin, and she's trying to be the new Kingpin. Uh, like, she's trying to take over the mob business. Basically, a crime show set in the MCU. And honestly, I like the idea. I thought, okay, the first rated R project for the MCU. I think this is a great direction to go. You know, grow up with your audience. And, you know, the idea of this grounded crime story, I think, is very different for the MCU. So yeah, I thought on paper this show worked, and then everything they did past the first episode, which I actually enjoyed the first episode, but everything past that I thought wasn't that great. The action scenes I thought were okay at the moment, but once I replayed them, it doesn't even look like they're fighting. It feels like they're doing like dances and stuff. Like, they do like a nice long take. I like that they're getting a little bit more creative with the action scenes. It's not just power beam, punch, punch, pow, pow, something like that. Like most MCU movies. I like that they're like going a more John Wick style. It's not as good as John Wick. So I like the long takes. Um, but the action itself, once you really start to look at it, isn't that great. The character, Maya, I think, not really that interesting. It feels like they were setting up for her to be a great character. They go through her backstory in the first episode, and I thought it was interesting, but she doesn't really go through that much of a character arc. You don't even really know what she's trying to do until the end of the first episode, and I don't know. She's not a super interesting character. Um, a, a lot of the CGI isn't that good. There's some parts of green screen and stuff. Uh, it's only 5 episodes long, but it feels like 10 episodes. And the first 4 episodes of the show feels like the first third of a 10 episode TV show, and then the final episode just rushes everything. I don't know what this movie was doing. Not movie. I don't know what the show was doing. It feels like a movie because it's just so short. I think it clocks in at like 3 hours, so it's maybe even less than that. So it could have been a movie. They could have made this like a Disney Plus movie, but I don't know. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, they did say like behind the scenes that this was supposed to be a long show, and then they like very much shortened it like a lot to 5 episodes. So I think it was supposed to be 8 episodes, and they cut it down to 5, which I guess would mean that the pacing would be a lot better. But no, it just isn't that great overall. I was kind of disappointed with the show. I like what they were going for. Like this more grounded MCU show, but it just didn't work. Um, Nuts up, nuts up. Wait, I jumped forward. Just 1 second. Uh huh. Okay. Nuts Up is a Martin Scorsese film, The King of Comedy. Really good. I didn't really know what to expect of it because there was part of me that really wanted to see this film because it's what inspired Joker, and Joker is like my top 30 favorite movies of all time, and definitely one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And it's directed by Martin Scorsese. I haven't seen a lot of his films, but I've seen Killers of the Flower Moon last year, and that was my second favorite film of 2023. So Martin Scorsese, great director. I like all the films I've seen from him. This is directed by Martin Scorsese as Jerry Lewis. I didn't know Jerry Lewis had dramatic roles, so that was definitely interesting. Um, but with that being said, I mean, when it comes to like movies from Martin Scorsese, this does seem to be the least talked about of his, or one of the least talked about. Like people don't talk about this film as much as they talk about Goodfellas or The Irishman. Definitely not one of his most popular films. Probably one of his least popular. So I don't know what to think going into it. But honestly, I really enjoyed this. This is I don't know if I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I know came damn close to 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. If you want to check for yourself, go follow me on Letterboxd, Go Feel Studio. Yeah, it basically delves into the theme of how people are obsessed with celebrities and celebrity culture, and really good symbolism and themes there, which I really liked. Um, what else? Uh, Robert De Niro, great performance. Probably one of his best performances yet. Did a really good job. Jerry Lewis also does a great job. Uh, and it definitely has like a very tight storyline. Like they don't do that much for a film, but it's a very short film, so it goes in a nice pace. A great dialogue. Yeah, I think it hit all the right notes. Really good. Nuts up, nuts up, nuts, nuts. Here we are. The Iron Claw. This movie was robbed for the Oscars. Really, I mean, it came out a little bit late, like December and stuff. So it's not really a big film. It's kind of smaller. It's 824. So I can understand it, but I feel like this was just robbed from the Oscars. Zac Efron. Wow, what great acting. I've heard the name Zac Efron. I don't think I've seen any of his movies, but he's a fantastic actor. He did a great job. Should have been nominated for Best Actor. Um, uh, and this is a very sad story. Probably one of the saddest stories I have ever seen. Um, so basically, when I was watching it, a character dies. I'm not gonna spoil it, but one character dies. I think, oh, I get it. So that's where the story turns dark. Like the first half of the movie is very joyful, and then character dies, and then the tone completely shifts, and then I think, oh, so the entire movie is gonna be about these characters dealing with his death. I get it. And then they just keep going and going and going, and more characters die. And by the end of the film, most of the characters died. Some survived, but a lot more characters died than you think would. Like, it's a very tragic story, and once you think the characters hit their lowest point, it just gets lower and lower and lower and lower. It just gets worse and worse, more tragic, more tragic. It's really very sad. If you were to tell me this was a true story, I wouldn't believe you. It sounds like a soap opera with how much bad stuff happens. But yeah, I heard the true story is even sadder than that. So it's even a downplayed version of the real story. As at least I've heard. Yeah, and very sad. Also, as someone who's not a huge fan of wrestling, this movie did a good job making me interested in these characters and their career in wrestling. As someone who hasn't watched the WE, and the only thing I know about wrestling is Rock and John Cena and the guy who plays Drax, actors who used to be WWE wrestlers. That's the only thing I know about wrestling. But this movie made me interested in these characters and their love for wrestling. So that I'll compliment it for as well. Great cinematography as well, and yeah, I highly recommend you check it out. Then we got El Mercenario, or in English, The Mercenary. This is an Italian spaghetti western. Um, it it's directed by not Sergio Leone, but another Sergio who has made some spaghetti westerns, and you can definitely tell that this is a spaghetti western not directed by Sergio Leone. I haven't seen much myself, um, because there's an obsessive amount of zoom ins in this movie. Like, I, whenever every 5 minutes there's like a zoom in, like ooh wow, like during an action scene when someone gets shot, it just zooms like, you know what I mean? So that was a little bit annoying, but everything else I thought was pretty good. Actors do a good job. The score is fantastic. The main reason I want to watch this movie is because I don't know what this widescreen is. Hello? Presenter view. I did not click that. I don't think I clicked that. Let me press F11. Okay, here we are. So, the main reason I want to watch this movie is that the score is from Ennio Morricone. If you don't know who Ennio Morricone is, he is the best composer of all time. In my opinion, better than Hans Zimmer and John Williams, and a lot. He's the best. He's the best. He made the score for The Thing. He made the score for Sergio Leone's films. The Dollars trilogy. Um, and in my playlist, it's a lot of Ennio Morricone. He's a fantastic composer. So I thought, well, if he did this movie is probably gonna sound really good, and I was not wrong. The score is fantastic. If you're not interested in this movie, at least look up the score, um, because it is really good. There's one where there's whistling, and it just stays in your mind. Very memorable. Uh, very memorable. It's a very memorable soundtrack. Good cinematography too. Good. It looks great. And yeah, I mean, I think the weakest part of this movie is the story because I didn't really understand that much. There's some confusing parts. Sometimes it feels like the movie is confused on what's doing and where the story is going. Yeah, so it kind of feels like wishy-washy, the story, but yeah, I mean, it's a decent Western. I give it a 4 out of 5. Check it out. The Sting. This is a film with Robert Duvall and, you know, I can't remember his name now. I don't think I'll remember it later. So, a lot of great actors here, including Robert Duvall. I don't even think that's his name, but the guy who plays the skipper and Jaws. So that's a very interesting casting. And yeah, the Sting. I didn't. You see, I watched this film. I turned it on. I was scrolling through Netflix to find a movie to watch while I was eating dinner. So I didn't plan to watch it that much. Uh, but I came across this category in Netflix that says Academy Award winners. So I scrolled through them. I've seen a lot of them. Some of them I'm not interested in. Some of them are rated R, so I don't want to see them from my parents. But uh, this film came up and it looked interesting. It was very 1940s. I like that. Academy Award. I've never heard of it. I want to check it out. And coming into it completely blind, I thought it was pretty good. It definitely makes you wonder, are they still scheming this guy or are things going wrong? It makes you wonder what the character's intentions are, what the characters are trying to do in a scene. So I really like that. Um, I like the way it's directed. It definitely like brings out the beauty of 1940s New York. It kind of remind me in The Godfather that way. The way it's directed. Not that this is as good as The Godfather, um, but it's directed in a way that really brings out the beauty in New York. Like you could tell the director really loved 1940s New York. They love this time period. They like the setting, and they really accumulate that through the cinematography. Great performances all around. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Just check it out if you're interested. 22 Jump Street. This film kind of underwhelmed me, if I'm gonna be honest, because I love the first 21 Jump Street. 21 Jump Street is really good. 22 Jump Street, I came into it expecting, okay, maybe this will be as fun as the first one. It's not. It's not. I don't think it's as funny. It definitely feels a little bit more outdated. Like it's directed like a film in the mid 2010s. Um, which the first film was admittedly directed as, but well, that film I feel was more self-aware by its 2010ish directing. I felt like this film was, it just felt it came off as more repetitive. Um, it felt and that's what the movie felt like. It felt repetitive, like they were like repeating a lot of the same stories. I think this was kind of unnecessary to be honest, because not because a sequel to 21 Jump Street is unnecessary. I like that, but the stories they chose just didn't. They felt unnecessary. Like you could have chose a better story. Again, not that funny. Um, yeah, and there's also characters that have a lot of screen time that don't show up in the ending of the film. Like, the movie just completely forgets about them in the third act. They really tried to end this film as soon as possible so they could get to that ending montage. Yeah, not that funny. I was kind of underwhelmed, but still decent. I give it like a 7 out of 10. Yeah. Fury. This is possibly the most underrated movie I have ever seen. Well, no, but one of the most underrated. If you want to see what the most underrated is, check out my top three most underrated movies of all time. Or if you want one more specific, watch my video on the top five most underrated horror movies of all time. Anyways, this is basically a tank movie, World War II tank movie. Really well done. Definitely explores themes in war that I don't think I've seen explored as as much in the genre. The actors, great cast. Shia LaBeouf, Brad Pitt, John Lucimago, John Burfall. I like seeing John Burfall and anything he's in. I think he's a greatly underutilized actor. So whatever has John Burfall, I'm intrigued. Um, yeah, and just a really well made film. Oh, and possibly one of the best climaxes I've ever seen in a movie. Definitely one of the best climaxes of any movie. Definitely one of the best of any action film or war film. I don't want to spoil it, but if you're not interested in this movie, at least check out the last 20 minutes because they are fantastic. Um, yeah. So, anyways, that's up. Oh, I give that like a 10 out of 10. Next up, we got American Fiction. Funny story about this one. Well, for all the rest of these slides, because this is Google Slides, I looked up the wallpaper for these movies. So when searching up these images, I looked up 22 Jump Street wallpaper, Fury wallpaper, Fury movie wallpaper. That's why I looked up. I found the images. I downloaded the images. I paste them here. For this one, American Fiction, I think this movie is, so small and so independent that I couldn't find one of those wallpapers. I had to choose between this picture and this picture with Jeffrey Wright's bald head that you can't see because my camera is covering his bald head. So I chose this picture. Um, yeah, so I guess not a lot of people have seen this film, but if you haven't, I definitely recommend you do. I wasn't very interested in the story. I was just interested in knowing, yeah, it's Jeffrey Wright. It's a comedy, and it's nominated for Best Picture. I think, yeah, Best Picture and Best Screenplay. Those four things really intrigued me. Everything else, the story the story about an author and his story. I'm not really interested in like books and stuff, um, which you can kind of tell because I review movies, not books. Um, so obviously, I probably wasn't the target audience for it, and as someone who probably wouldn't like this movie, or probably wouldn't have checked out this movie if it didn't have Jeffrey Wright or didn't have great reviews and wasn't nominated for Best Picture. I think is really, really good. Definitely has a nice dry sense of humor while having a lot of emotion. Um, there were a lot of scenes that made me laugh a lot. Uh, really, probably one of the most realistic films the last year. Just the way the characters act and talk to each other feel realistic, and its social commentary I thought was done right. Like not too on the nose, but like on the nose enough where you could pick it up and laugh. So yeah, and next up we got Jackie Brown. So as you know, I've been watching all the Quentin Tarantino films, or at least I'm going on a marathon where I try to watch all Quentin Tarantino films. This one is possibly the one talked about the least when it comes to his 10 films. Um, and I could definitely see why. It's not as flashy as his other films, and story-wise, it could be a little bit confusing. But I liked it. It had a good score, good directing. Probably Samuel L. Jackson's best performance, or one of his best performances. Um, Great score, if I haven't said already. And the one problem I have with it is one, as I said, the story is a little bit confusing, and two, I feel like the ending was kind of underwhelming because the villain just like dies off immediately, which is again kind of underwhelming. Like it's Samuel L. Jackson, and it feels like they were like building up something more than they actually were with the villain. Uh, So yeah, it feels like it's resolved way too quickly and easily. But otherwise, I had fun with it. There was a scene at the mall that I really like where it told this scene in different perspectives. Yeah, not one of Quentin Tarantino's best films. I probably won't rewatch it that much, but um, I mean, I definitely, I mean, still good. I'm glad I watched it. Yeah. And that's up. Reservoir Dogs. Um, is it? Yeah, I think this is my second favorite Quentin Tarantino film so far. Maybe my first. 10 out of 10. Fantastic film. Yeah, this film is great. It's great. Um, it's 90 minutes long, but it doesn't like feel like 90 minutes long because you're just so invested in the story. Um, Great characters. Tim Roth is such a great actor. Like this movie made me realize what a great actor he is. Um, of course, every Tarantino film has great music, and this is no exception. Um, yeah, and very intriguing, very engrossing because the story is about like this rat, but you don't know who the rat is until like halfway through the film, so you don't know, is there a rat? Is there not a rat? Are they all lying to each other? Is one of them lying to each other? It definitely keeps you intrigued with the mystery of it all, and while you're at it, you have great characters and great dialogue. So yeah, fantastic film. And yeah, now that we are done with that segment of the live stream, we can finally get to video game time. And this time, let's go CSGO. How about that? Let's do it. First, let me change the title and the thumbnail to something more appeasing. Not many viewers so far. Yeah. Alright, give it a second. It's still... My computer is not being very nice to me today. Hopefully it'll be better when playing CSGO. Although, I don't know. I doubt it. I really doubt it. Alright, 2 views. One was from Incognito, one is from me. Yeah. Oh, okay. Um, let's exit out of this. Get into this. Um, and then how do I change the title? Let me see. Hmm. Give me a second here. Alright, looks like I can't. Or maybe if I go to your videos. No? Okay, then I'm gonna just turn off this live stream and start a new one. Um, where I play CSGO. So, thanks for everyone who watched. I'll be with you in a couple minutes. Goodbye.